Dear students, welcome to the online class of English Literature. The third lesson is The Story of Dr. Dolittle by Hugh Lofting. Children, the story is about Dr. Dolittle, who lived with his sister Sarah Dolittle in Puddleby on the Marsh. He was a famous doctor who loved animals and had many of them. Now open your book to page number 71. The Story of Dr. Dolittle. Once upon a time, many years ago, when our grandfathers were little children, there was a doctor and his name was Dolittle, John Dolittle, MD. MD means that he was a proper doctor and knew a whole lot. So children, the name of the doctor was Dr. Dolittle and he was a proper doctor and he knew a lot of things. He lived in a little town called Puddleby on the Marsh. All the folks, young and old, knew him well by sight. The dogs and the children would all run up and follow behind him, and even the crows that lived in the church tower would cow and nod their heads. So children, Dr. Dolittle lived in a little town called Puddleby on the Marsh, and all the people, young and old, everybody knew him. And an interesting thing was that the dogs and the children would all run up and follow behind him. And children, even the crows that lived in the church tower would cow and nod their heads. So everyone was familiar with Dr. Dolittle. The house he lived in on the edge of the town was quite small, but his garden was very large and had a wide lawn and stone seats and weeping willows hanging over. His sister Sarah Dolittle was housekeeper for him. So here the writer tells us that the house was small, but the garden was very large and it had a wide lawn and stone seats and weeping willows hanging over. So what is the meaning of weeping willows? It means a type of tree with long branches and leaves that reach down to the ground. And his sister Sarah Dolittle was the housekeeper for him, so she looked after the house. Okay. He was very fond of animals and kept many kinds of pets. Besides the goldfish in the pond at the bottom of his garden, he had rabbits in the pantry, white mice in his piano, a squirrel in the linen closet, and a hedgehog in the cellar. He had a cow with a calf too, and an old lame horse, 25 years of age, and chickens and pigeons and 2 lambs and many other animals. But his favorite pets were Dab Dab the duck, Jip the dog, Gub Gub the baby pig, Polynesia the parrot, and the owl Tutu. So children, the writer tells us that he was very fond of animals and he loved to keep all kinds of pets. So besides the goldfish in the pond at the bottom of the garden, he had rabbits in the pantry. So children, pantry means a small room or cupboard in which food, crockery and cutlery are kept. And he had white mice in his piano, a squirrel in the linen closet. So children, linen closet means a cupboard with deep shelves and drawers for the storage of domestic linens, for example, towels, tablecloths and sheets. And he had a hedgehog in the cellar. So children, a hedgehog is a type of small mammal with sharp spines covering the body. And a cellar is a room under the ground floor of a building, usually used for storing things. He also had an old lame horse. Lame means unable to walk, and the horse was about 25 years of age. And he had chickens and pigeons and 2 lambs and many other animals. But his favorite pets were Dab Dab the duck, Jib the dog, Gub Gub the baby pig, Polynesia the parrot, and the owl Tutu. His sister used to grumble about all these animals and said they made the house untidy. And one day, when an old lady with rheumatism came to see the doctor, she sat on the hedgehog who was sleeping on the sofa and never came to see him anymore, but drove every Saturday all the way to Oxenthorpe, another town 10 miles off, to see a different doctor. So, children, his sister Sarah Dolittle used to grumble. Grumble means to complain about something in a bad tempered way about all these animals and said they made the house untidy. And children, imagine one day when an old lady with rheumatism means a condition in which discomfort is felt in the limbs and joints, came to Dr. Dolittle. She sat on the hedgehog who was sleeping on the sofa. So that lady never came to see him again. And every Saturday, she used to drive to another town that was 10 miles away to see a different doctor. Can you imagine this? Then his sister, Sarah Dolittle, came to him and said, "John, how can you expect sick people to come and see you when you keep all these animals in the house? If you go on like this, none of the best people will have you for a doctor." "But I like the animals better than the best people," said the doctor. "You are ridiculous," said his sister, and walked out of the room. So, as time went on, the doctor got more and more animals, and the people who came to see him got less and less, till at last he had no one left except the cat's meat man, who didn't mind any kind of animals. So, children, one day Sarah Dolittle came to Dr. Dolittle and said, "How can you expect sick people to come and see you when you keep all these animals in the house?" She also said that if you go on like this, none of the best people will have you for a doctor. And what did Dr. Dolittle reply? He replied that, "I like the animals better than the best people." So Sarah Dolittle said that you are ridiculous. Ridiculous means extremely silly or unreasonable. So children, as time went on, the doctor got more and more animals, and the people who came to see him got less and less. And only one was left, and that was the cat's meat man, who didn't mind any kind of animals. And now, when he walked down the street in his high hat, people would say to one another, "There goes Dr. Dolittle, MD. There was a time when he was the best known doctor in the West Country. Look at him now. He hasn't any money, and his stockings are full of holes." But the dogs and the cats and the children still ran up and followed him through the town, the same as they had done when he was rich. So children, now you will notice something very important in these two paragraphs. So the writer tells us that now when he goes to the market, the people say to one another that there goes Dr. Dolittle, MD. And there was a time when he was the best known doctor in the West Country. And look at him now. He has no money and his stockings means long, tight fitting socks worn by people. So his stockings are full of holes because now he is poor. But even now, when he has no money, the dogs, the cats, and the children still follow him through the town, the same as they had done when he was rich. So, children, animals are very loyal, and children are clean hearted. They don't differentiate between rich people and poor people. They only understand emotions and love. One day, the doctor was sitting in his kitchen talking with the cat's meat man who had come to see him with a stomach ache. Why don't you give up being a people's doctor and be an animal doctor? Asked the cat's meat man. The parrot, Polynesia, was sitting in the window looking out at the rain. She started to listen. You see, doctor, the cat's meat man went on. You know all about animals, much more than these vets do. That book you wrote about cats, why, it's wonderful. You might have been a cat yourself. You know the way they think. And listen, you can make a lot of money doctoring animals. Do you know that? You see, I'd sent all the old women who had sick cats or dogs to you. And look, all the farmers round about who had lame horses and weak lambs, they'd come. Be an animal doctor. So, children, one day Dr. Dolittle was talking to the cat's meat man. And who is a cat's meat man? A cat's meat man is a person who sells meat to cat owners. Okay? And the cat's meat man advised Dr. Dolittle to become an animal doctor. He said that you know everything about animals, you love animals so much, and the book that you wrote on the cats show that you know so much about the cats. He also said that you can make a lot of money doctoring these animals, and he would send all the old women who had sick cats or dogs to him, and all the farmers who had lame horses and weak lambs would also come to you. And this whole conversation, Polynesia was listening. Okay, children? Who is Polynesia? Polynesia is the parrot. So, in short, the cat's meat man was advising Dr. Dolittle to become an animal doctor. The cat's meat man also claimed that Dr. Dolittle knows a lot more than the vets know. Now, what does the word vets mean? Vets mean veterinarian. A person qualified to treat diseased or injured animals. Okay, children? When the cat's meat man had gone, the parrot flew off the window onto the doctor's table and said, That man's got sense. That's what you ought to do. Be an animal doctor. Oh, there are plenty of animal doctors, said Dr. Dolittle. Yes, there are plenty, said Polynesia, but none of them are any good at all. Now listen, doctor, and I'll tell you something. Did you know that animals can talk? I knew that parrots can talk, said the doctor. Oh, we parrots can talk in two languages, people's language and bird language, said Polynesia proudly. If I say Polly wants a cracker, you understand me. But hear this. Ka kawi fifi. So children, as we already know that Polynesia was listening to the conversation, and as the cat's meat man left, the parrot flew off the window onto the doctor's table and said that the cat's meat man is absolutely correct and Dr. Dolittle should become an animal doctor. But doctor was not confident. He said that already there are many animal doctors in the city. But then Polynesia said something very interesting. Polynesia asked the doctor that did he know that animals can talk? So Dr. Dolittle replied that he knew that parrots can talk. And then Polynesia told Dr. Dolittle something very interesting. Polynesia said that parrots can talk in two languages, people's language and bird language. So if Polynesia says Polly wants a cracker, cracker here means a thin crisp wafer or biscuit, then everybody will understand this, isn't it children? But when Polynesia will say ka kawi e fifi, no one will understand this. Good gracious, cried the doctor. What does that mean? That means, is the porridge hot yet? In bird language. My, you don't say so, said the doctor. You never talked that way to me before. What would have been the good? Said Polynesia, dusting some cracker crumbs off her left wing. You wouldn't have understood me if I had. Tell me some more, said the doctor, all excited, and he rushed over to the dresser drawer and came back with the butcher's book and a pencil. Now, don't go too fast, and I'll write it down. This is interesting, very interesting, something quite new. Give me the birds A, B, C first, slowly now. So, that was the way the doctor came to know that animals had a language of their own and could talk to one another. And all that afternoon, while it was raining, Polynesia sat on the kitchen table giving him bird words to put down in the book. So children, Dr. Dolittle was surprised and he asked Polynesia, what does that mean? And Polynesia replied that it means that is the porridge hot yet? Dr. Dolittle said that you never talked that way to me before. So Polynesia said that you wouldn't have understood this language. So Dr. Dolittle was all excited and he rushed over to the dresser drawer. So dresser means a low chest of drawers, and came back with the butcher's book. Now what is butcher's book? It is the book a butcher uses for writing down what meat has been supplied and how much is owed. And he also got a pencil. And he found this bird language very interesting and started writing the ABC of the bird language. And this is how he came to know that animals had a language of their own and could talk to one another. I hope children you have understood the lesson. Now let's underline the difficult words. Come to page number 71. The first word is folks. Next, sight. Next, church tower. Next, quiet. Next, edge. Next, weeping willows. Next, housekeeper. Next, bottom. Next, pantry. Next, squirrel. Next, linen. Next, closet. Next, hedgehog. Next, cellar. Next, lame. Next, pigeons. Next, favorite. Now come to page number 72. Grumble. Next, rheumatism. Next, stockings. Next, ridiculous. Next, followed. Now come to page number 73. Stomach. Next, wonderful. Next, doctoring. Next, ought. Next, cracker. Now come to page number 74. Gracious. Next, porridge. Next, dusting. Next, crumbs. Next, dresser. Next, drawer. Next, butcher. And the last word is interesting. Now children, you will read the lesson thoroughly, okay? Your assignment is that you will learn the difficult words and you will write them down in your rough register, and you will make sentences of the following words in your rough register. The first word is stockings. The second word is interesting. The next word is listen. The fourth word is proudly. And the fifth word is followed. Now children, in the next video, we will be doing the question answers and the reference to context. Thank you.